How do you find someone who's worth hurting for? So I'm not looking, and I don't think you should look for them. I don't think it's like, I need a partner, let's go find one. I think that's kind of like an immature perspective, quite honestly. I kind of feel like, for me, it's not going, oh, how do I find out if you're worth hurting for? It's not a decision you make or an assessment you make. It's just something that happens. More often than not, you get in a relationship very easily when you're not looking for one, and it's much more challenging when you are looking for one. So over time, if you get addicted to someone's presence and you enjoy their company and you love them, you will inherently know that you're willing to risk it for more. Like, I don't care if this sucks someday down the line, I still want this. That'll just be something that happens to you, not something that you have to be like weighing up the pros and cons to decide. Like, if you're going, I don't know, they're not worth hurting for. If you've got any hesitance whatsoever, if you're like, how do I know whether this will be worth it? It's not worth it. And you're not worth it. You don't trust them enough. You're not worth it for them because you're uncertain about them. Let them be with someone that is certain about them and enthusiastically in love with them, you know? If you go looking for a relationship, you usually end up with someone who isn't right for you. Exactly. I kind of feel that way. Not always, though. Some people go on Tinder or whatever for a fuck and then end up with, like, a wife of 26 years, you know? But, like, most people who are lonely are looking for an emotional band-aid, not a relationship, and they don't know that there's a difference between the two. If your life is boring, you are boring yourself. Before you go boring someone else, go find a way to bring interest and joy to your life before you go find a partner. Like, if you want a partner because you're bored and lonely, that is a failing of you. That's not something a relationship can fix, okay? If you are lonely when you are on your own, it's because you are not providing good company to yourself. Another human being can't fix that. They can only distract you from it, which prolongs the problem, right? If you're bored, it's because you're boring. If you're lonely, it's because you are alone and you shouldn't be. You should be your best friend. If you don't have any joy in life, it's because you are sucking the joy out of it. Only boring people get bored. So I'd say, like, it's not that you need to love yourself before you can be loved. It's that if you are your first partner, if you love yourself, if you take care of yourself, you'll be a better partner. And it applies to emotions too, and self-soothing and the way that you cope with your emotions and things. Like, if you're sad and you don't know how to manage and regulate your own feelings, then your partner isn't going to help you manage and regulate your own feelings. They're just going to be in the sadness with you. If you don't know, if you're giving people the silent treatment and shutting yourself in a room, screaming into a pillow instead of dealing with shit, that you bring that into a relationship. Being a good partner to yourself, knowing how to support yourself, knowing how to rely on yourself, knowing how to be consistent, knowing who you are, being a good lover, being a good friend, being a good supporter, making decisions for yourself like that help with your health and shit like this. This will make you a good partner. You need to be a good partner to yourself first before you can be a good partner to others. I think that's more true than you need to love yourself first, because that's a bit more complicated. But at least be a good partner to yourself. I want to go out and live my life and have fun. I don't want to constantly be dating. I don't want to constantly be interviewed by a bunch of men who want to get to know me. I just want to live. Like, I'm not an opportunity. I don't have to make myself an opportunity. Like, I'm a human. I'm a human, not an opportunity. I don't want to be just an opportunity for a guy to get something. I want to be me. And that involves climbing and learning martial arts and going to the gym and, like, playing computer games. It does not involve constantly sitting and smiling at guys who've invited themselves into my life without me ever opening the door. Like, that's not my job. That's not my life. I don't have much free time. Let me do what I want. I don't have to be sat there eagerly waiting for the electrician to ask me loads of personal questions when I just want my light fixed. So you don't want people to converse? I kind of feel like conversing is fine. I talk to everyone. I'm talking about being come on to. Like, people, I've never asked another woman, what does your boyfriend think of Like when I first meet a woman, I'm not like, how does your boyfriend feel about, like, I'm not fishing to find out whether or not she has a partner. Like, I don't give a shit. But also, like, I kind of feel like one of the best ways you can find a good person, especially a good man, is how he treats women he's not attracted to. I feel like that is a huge measure of a man, and how much of a possibility, how much of a chance he has of dating me is like, how does he treat the old lady who works at the local co-op? Like, how does he treat the waitress? How does he treat, like, the women around him who he's not physically attracted to? Because if it's any different than the way he treats me, he can go fuck himself. There are so many guys out there that don't realize this, but they only pay attention to women they're attracted to, and they can be so nice. There is no one sweeter, there is no one kinder than a man who wants to sleep with you. He'll bend over backwards. He'll go through hell on earth to help you across the street, to help you move out of your old place into a new place. He'll be so fucking nice, but will be an absolute bitch to, I don't know, the waitress who's kind of middle-aged and has 3 kids and a few grey hairs. And, you know, I kind of feel like in those circumstances, that only really shines through if you hang out with them around women that they're not attracted to. And the way that when I first spotted it was actually my porn-addicted ex, because he used to go over the road to the shop, the corner shop, over the road from us, all the time. And he knew all of the women, he knew all of the men there. He could describe them. There were like 3 bald guys and 2 guys with a similar haircut. And like, they could easily blend into one person. You might not even notice that they were separate people, because some of them were very similar to each other in some ways, but he knew every single one. He knew all the guys' names. He knew their hobbies, the things they liked and didn't like, the things that they'll speak about often whenever he comes into the shop. And then there was a cute girl with short dyed blue hair who looked a bit like the actor from Juno. And there was 3 middle-aged women. And when I said, what about the women? He defined them all as the guys with each of their individual names. Bill, Rob, James, Jeff, you know, he knew all of the names. Then there was the hot girl, didn't learn her name. And then there was the old lady, which was all 3 of the other old ladies rolled into one in his head, because he never even looked at them, never tried to speak to them, never even thought about them, right? And I was like, there are literally 3 women, and I've seen you engage with all 3 of those middle-aged women. And you thought they were all the same women because you barely even acknowledge them. Like, they aren't people to you. Any woman that you don't want to fuck isn't a person to you. He's like, no. And I was like, well, how come you have seen these women more than the guys and you don't know anything about them? He's like, and we sat down and I asked him why. And the theory we came up with together was that he'd been watching so much porn, and porn rewards you. You're looking through all of these thumbnails of all these different women, and you're rating them subconsciously from 1 to 10, like for the most attractive ones, because you're looking for the one that will give you the highest dopamine reward to masturbate to. So you're rating them out of 10, like 2, 10, 5, 6, and you're looking for someone who will give you the biggest release. Your brain is trained to be like, let's immediately digest these images of women as like a potential orgasm. Like, these are all orgasm points, okay? Let's look for the one with the highest orgasm points. So unconsciously, his brain gets the highest reward whenever it rates women. So unconsciously, he's just rating all women. Whenever his brain sees a woman, it's out of 10 rated immediately. And then if it's not like a masturbation points, if it doesn't have very high masturbation points, it becomes invisible. Because he's been sat at home doing that repeatedly to images all day, every day. That's just what his brain does automatically when it sees a woman. So it's just like an unappealing porn thumbnail to him. Every single woman he's not attracted to is just bad porn. And so, like, now I really pay attention to the way that the men around me treat women that they're not attracted to. It's the biggest measure of every man around me. He's only a good man if he treats every woman the same. Maybe guys have no friends, more so than women. I kind of feel like I'm talking about the kind of guy who has like 8 male friends and no female friends whatsoever. And when you ask them like, how many women they know. They just don't. They don't seek out female company. They have no female friends. They've never valued a woman that they haven't tried to sleep with. I tend to stay away from those men. Men with no friends, I kind of feel like, in my experience, a lot of the guys that I've been friends with who are quite shut in and isolated and don't have very many friends end up hitting on me because they can't tell the difference between a platonic friendship and a romantic one when they've been alone for so long. Like, I kind of feel like it's really hard to be friends with a guy who has no friends, because when you become their only friend, they try to make you their everything, and then they overvalue it and start imagining it as a romantic thing, and they get way too attached because they're lonely. So, like, I've not had very many good friendships with men with no friends, to the point where I'm now reconsidering that as a red flag, just because I've not come across in my time a guy who spends most of his time alone who can be just friends with me. Like, I kind of feel like if you don't have any friends and you're a straight male and a woman takes interest in you, it's really, really hard to keep things as just a friend in your head. I don't know why. It's my personal experience. I'm not going to tarnish all men with this brush, but I've had this experience many, many times. So I kind of feel like I would rather be friends with people who know how to be someone's friend than someone who has no friends. I'd say, like, a lot of people, when they walk into a room unconsciously, if they're going to engage with anyone, will engage with people they feel most familiar with. And sometimes gender is such a huge aspect of someone's identity that they can only see themselves relating to the other people of their gender in the room. So they'll make a beeline for a group of guys or a group of women, right? And they'll go talk to them, and they'll make more eye contact with them in the group, and they're more likely to give their personal details to those people in the group. And there may be an unconscious bias where you just immediately relate via your, like, gender, more so than anything else. I tend not to be friends with people like that, though. I kind of feel like it's a tier of, like, when you're a little kid, it's really common, but you're supposed to grow out of it, because just because someone's male or female, it doesn't make them a good or bad friend. And also, being able to relate to people across experiences is an aspect of maturity. So the more broad spectrum of people you are able to bring into your life and be friends with, the better it reflects on you as a human being. To be able to relate to loads of different people and to be able to connect with loads of different people is a sign of maturity, it's a sign of a lack of prejudice, and it's overall a green flag. I'd rather be friends with someone who can be friends with anyone than friends with someone who needs you to be one of the lads. Like, I'm open to conversations with random guys, but if I've said no to being hit on and they're hitting on me, then I'm just gonna drop them immediately, right? And so, like, I don't have any problem making friends with men. And I will have my guard up with some men if they are not respecting my boundaries, not understanding social cues, being dangerous without realizing it. Because the basic safety boundaries that women have up, if blokes understand why they're there, it's still perfectly possible to make friends with women and respect those. For example, like, if you're a bloke and you're like, hey, are you going to be able to get home safe today? Or do you want me to walk you? If they go, no, it's not far, I'm fine walking alone, drop the issue. Don't be like, oh, I insist, little lady. What if they don't want you to know where they live? What if they are like, well, I'm more likely to be sexually assaulted by someone I do know than don't know, so I would rather the people that I'm acquaintance with don't know where I live. And that might be the thinking behind it. So insisting that you walk someone to their front door is disrespectful, because now they're backed into a situation where they have to reject you harder. And some men don't take rejection well, and they don't want to find out whether or not you take rejection well. That's risky. So them going, no, fuck off, I don't want you to know where I live, is just not an option, because that's also dangerous, okay? Lots of women get stalked and killed that way. So just going, okay, but would you mind, like, letting me know that you got home safe? Is that okay? Like, that can be a suggestion. I feel like it's really important not to rely on the fact that this person that you're currently mating with is going to be with you forever. Even if you'd like them to. Even if you're planning for them to be with you forever. Always make it so that your life will be fine, even if they don't. Like, you might not be fine. You might be broken into 1,000 pieces by the breakup for a bit. But, like, as long as you'll still have a stable environment and won't lose everything integral to your existence, like, then it's safe to be in that relationship. How to start a conversation with someone you may be interested in. I kind of feel like you are not interested in someone if you haven't started a conversation with them. You're just perving on them, and that's different. I kind of feel like just because you like the look of someone doesn't mean that you're entitled to their time and energy. So like, I would say you aren't interested in someone romantically if you've never spoken to them. You are interested in them physically, and you need to understand that definition and distinction, because when you're respectful to the people around you, you know that just because you like someone's ass or titties, or I don't know, like their hair or whatever, doesn't mean you get to stop them in the supermarket and interview them for a role in your life that they never applied for. Just remember that. Just right? So, but if you are interested in someone that you know from class, or that you know from work, or that you know in some capacity, you just haven't engaged with them very much, that's different. Like if you know a little bit about them and they seem intriguing, but you don't know whether you like them, but you would want to talk to them in case you like them romantically, I'd say I'm not the best person to give you advice there, because that's just not how I approach relationships. Personally, I have a 100% success rate asking people out, because I listen to whether or not they're interested in me, and I get to know them very, very well, not to find out whether or not I want to date them or to find out how they feel about me, but because I feel like you don't know if you like someone until you've known them for at least a year. Like, nobody shows you everything about themselves instantly. Most people, incrementally, you find out more and more about them. And most people unconsciously put their best foot forward when they first meet someone. So like, people accidentally overcompensate for their insecurities by over exaggerating traits they wish they had instead of the ones they actually do have. This is why you get people tidying their room before you come over the first few times, but then as they know you and you're an old friend, they don't do jack shit to make it tidier anymore. Like, people can only hold their gut in for so long. So for me personally, I kind of feel like I don't learn how to have conversations with people to find out whether or not I want to be with them, because I just don't feel like that's how you get a long-term happy relationship. I don't do anything to find out whether or not I'm interested in someone or want to get to know them better romantically, because for me, I just don't want to put people in the same position I've been in my whole life, which is that people are really nice to me and make conversation with me and act like a really good friend, but they're just trying to find out whether or not I'd fuck them or date them. And in that situation, I'm scared, because I'm like, if I go, hey, you're not just trying to sleep with me, are you? They'll go, oh my God, you're so self-obsessed. No, it's not like that. And they'll just gaslight me, even if it's really obvious and everyone else has spotted it. Like, sometimes I feel like people are looming and they're like, I will be whatever personality it takes to get laid. What do you like? What do you hate? Me too. Like, and it just seems a bit frantic, and I just like, a bit much. So basically, when I strike up conversation with people, it's just because they're people and people are cool to hang out with and learn from and exist with, and not because I'm trying to find out whether or not I can spelunk and dunk their random crevices and shit. Like, no, because that doesn't lead to a good relationship, and it's more likely that you'll end up a creep than not. You cannot be more on point. The amount of times I've seen people pretending to be something they're not, that never ends well. I don't think our cultural norms within dating are working for anyone. More men are lonely now than ever before, right? It's obvious that the random pickup techniques that used to kind of work in like the 60s and 70s don't work now. So the generation of dads telling guys, you just gotta show your personality. You just gotta ask her out and bring her flowers and pester her and wear her down. And when she says no, she's playing hard to get. You should just chase her harder. Like, that whole philosophy is just making women run, because they don't need men in order to survive anymore. They've been given rights. So they've also been given boundaries, they've been given self-respect, and they've been given choice. And when they have the choice, they don't actually want to go for the guy who doesn't take no for an answer or thinks that you can buy love with chocolates. So, like, I don't like our culture and what it's doing to us, but I don't feel like I have to abide by those rules either. And because I want a long-term happy connection, if I ever date anyone, I will date someone I've known for quite a while. It's like, finding someone cute in the beginning doesn't really mean anything. People can be beautiful. People can have nice asses or whatever. And it's not really going to make them the perfect partner for you. And it's not going to necessarily mean that you could ever make each other happy. I'm just not in that desperate position. Like, I can take care of myself, and I don't really need anything from a partner. So if I take one, it'll be because I specifically think they, as a human being, are very cool. Like, it won't be because I want a partner. It will be because I've been fine all this time, but I want this person specifically, right? And that circumstance doesn't arise from charisma or riz. Like, you could have the best looks in the world and be the coolest person in the world, the most attractive person, have all the options in the world, and still not find anyone worth sharing your life with. So, like, for me, I've not really worked on having any techniques for partnerships. In the past, when I've been in a relationship, I've been with them for years and years and years, and the compatibility has slowly grown in the beginning. Over time, like, these sorts of things happen gradually, not because I wanted them to, but because it was just, oh, this person, I'm becoming addicted to this person's company, and it seems to be mutual. Like, and in that sense, I had a 100% success rate asking guys out, because I only ever asked out people who were attracted to me, and I could see they were before I asked them out. I didn't ask them out to find out how they feel. And so, knowing all of that, like, you asking me how do I riz people up and have a conversation to find out if I want to date them, it's like, I don't act like that. So why are you asking me? Why would I know? I have like emotionally mature long-time relationships, like that last six or so years at least, and like, you don't get that by behaving the way you're asking me to advise on. Like, people should be having relationships and children for themselves, not for society. And if that's not what makes them happy, they only get one life. They should be doing what makes them happy. That's the most important thing. Like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, your joy and your expression and your experience is the rarest and most beautiful thing that's happened in the universe, because life is rare, consciousness is rarer, and joy within consciousness is even rarer than that. The only person who can ever have those experiences that you specifically have is you, and then every opportunity for those specific things to happen will be gone forever. It's so important and beautiful, and I think it should be celebrated, and I don't think we should be impinging on other people's entire existence by pressuring them to be in relationships they don't want or to have kids they don't want. I don't think that's fair. I think that's a huge death. I think that is a killing of an entire existence that should have been, you know, to steal someone's happiness, to force them to be something they don't want to be. So only people who want relationships and who want children should be having them. But also, I kind of feel like not pressuring people to have relationships won't stop them. It would just mean that they will do it at their own pace, in their own time, within the confines of their own wisdom and experience, meaning that that will mean that when they finally do have relationships, they'll just be good ones. One of the biggest problems is that we have a lot of broken homes, right? We have a lot of single parents raising kids. And I don't think that's because the parent who stayed is terrible. I think that some people are not cut out to be parents, and they have kids prematurely, and then they can't be loyal, and they wuss out of the relationship and they leave the kid, or, you know, they are a detrimental force in the relationship and the primary caregiver has to leave them. For example, if you're abusive and your partner takes the kids and leaves because otherwise you might hit them or kill them or rape them, you know. These sorts of things mean that there are lots of unfit parents. I don't think being a single parent is a crime or something that you did wrong. I don't think we should be judging single dads and single mothers for staying by the kid. They shouldn't be bearing the brunt of this bullshit. But I feel like an aspect of why that happens is because we think that people should be mating for society instead of like living for themselves. If they lived for themselves and had kids at the right time, then there would be much less of a chance of abandoned families struggling where they thought that they'd have two parents and they don't. So for me personally, I don't give a shit what society thinks right now. Society's wrong on many accounts, and pressuring people to fuck and pressuring people to have kids, pressuring people to be in relationships, it's not really society's business. And society doesn't have a very good track record for happy relationships. I mean, the nuclear family was so heavily enforced during the 50s and 60s that when women were unhappy with being isolated at home alone with no future except being a bang maid for a guy who's at work most of the time and probably cheats on her, was to give her drugs to gloss over how awful it was. And there was a high rate of alcoholism, and there was lots of antidepressants and things being given to women that were essentially speed. So there were a lot of housewives running around hoovering on speed and then like drinking themselves to sleep to cope with the family life that society had imposed on them. And then they'd section all the bottomized women who tried to step out of it, or who were gay, or who just wanted to have a fucking career. Like, it was really, really bad. So I don't really trust society to dictate how relationships should go. I really, really fucking don't. Profoundly, for a long time, society's been very, very wrong about relationships and ruined a lot of lives. How do you still cherish memories with someone you found out lied to you about everything? They're really good memories, but I'm starting to think they're not real. I think most people go through this at some point in your life. Thanks for asking, by the way. But like, I have loads of examples of that. Like, there are a few people I've met in recent years who I really cared about, really enjoyed spending time with, would spend hours and hours of my time with, and really, like, I loved them as friends, and like, it was really cool to hang out with them. And then at some point they let me down, and I felt like it's not really, I don't really feel safe hanging out with these people anymore. I don't want to look over my shoulder. I don't want to distrust you. But I can't trust you anymore. And those people have lied. People will lie to you. People will betray you. People will let you down. And I think that doesn't make any of the stuff that they did that you enjoyed not real all of a sudden. I feel like the best example would be a relationship. The best and quickest example I can give you is like of a relationship. So I grew with my ex. I learned alongside my ex. We learned how to cook together. We learned how to be more confident. We learned like vital social lessons together. We thought about our purpose, our futures together. Like we made goals and learned things that were really important, and we laughed and we smiled and we went cool places together, right? And then that person lied to me and betrayed me, and we broke up. And there was a period of time where I questioned everything. I was like, was any of this real? Or was I just dating a lie? Because if you did one bad thing, doesn't that make everything about you bad? If you lied about one thing, doesn't that possibly make everything you said untrue? It's like, no. Most people, in fact, all people are both good and bad. All people have good traits and bad traits, right? There are absolutely awful people out there who did wonderful things. And we forget that. Like, there could be a streamer who has raised millions of pounds for charity, has been incredibly kind to 99.999% of all the people that I've ever met, left them inspired and left them entertained and happy, made so many people smile for years and years and years, and they do one thing that fucks up. They fuck up once, basically, and all people remember them by is the fuck up, right? It's more often than not that the people you meet who let you down the most probably did genuinely love you, probably did genuinely have a good time with you and really enjoy your company. But we often let ourselves down, let alone other people. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone makes a poor decision, everyone gets a bit selfish sometimes. Sometimes people's judgment is clouded. People will fuck up, and sometimes you will bear the brunt of that. You can't be perfect for yourself, let alone others. Others can't be perfect for you. You will let each other down. That's just a part of life, right? So the parts that were beautiful still happened, still enriched your experience. And I have to tell you now, most of the people you'll ever love, most of the people you'll ever be friends with, they'll fuck up someday. Sometimes you'll forgive them, and sometimes you won't. And a lot of the time, you will lose most of the people you've ever met to moving, betrayal, just not liking them anymore, or being too busy, whatever, right? And this means that if you define every friendship and relationship by how it ended, all of your memories will be tarnished and you will have no good ones. You'll lose years of your life to misery. Like, if you need it to go well from start to finish, to love all the times it was good, you'll hate everything about your life. Like, there might have been a job that you really enjoyed at first, but then you got tired of it and left. And if you see it by the way it ended, you'll have hated all those years you worked there, even if a lot of those years were really good. Like, you will depress yourself and you will lose years of your life and all the joy from your memories if you define everything by how it ends. One of the biggest skills you're going to need to learn is to see the silver lining and the beauty in things, even if they turn out to be a tough lesson. Like, maybe you'll learn to be less trusting because of someone, but that doesn't mean you didn't laugh with them. It doesn't mean that you didn't do something cool with them or learn from them or enjoy being loved by them. Both of those things could be true, and it's important that you hold on to both. How could you change your mindset to have a more positive outlook on an unsuccessful relationship? I think that just takes time. I feel like it's easier to realize in retrospect once you've had a little bit of time to let the emotions settle. Or at least that was what happened with me. I mean, sometimes it's too painful to see that at first. You need time to like get over the heartbreak to then revisit the good memories. Yeah, like I had an ex and we used to make hot chocolate together and listen to creepy pastas in the dark. We'd set up like a little den, like we were kids, like a pillow fort. We'd sit in there And we'd just listen to creepypastas in the dark and drink hot chocolate when it was cold weather. Or like we would go to the beaches and collect sea glass together and things like that. And it was some of the first times in a long time I'd actually gotten out of the house and actually enjoyed the world again and slowly relearned to go outside and to not be fucking terrified of people and to have a sense of community as well, because I was ingrained in his family and like I loved his family. They were wonderful people. And, you know, all of that stuff is still real and helped build me and helped me enjoy a really tough time in my existence and helped me pull me towards a better life, because I needed to get outside again. I needed to make friends again. I needed to learn to make conversation and develop human skills. Like, and all of that left me better off in the end. And I really enjoyed the process. None of that is any different or untrue just because, you know, we ended up breaking up. And I think like being able to enjoy looking at your past is really hard because we tend to fixate on and remember the worst things so much better than the good things. We are naturally trained to be hypervigilant for danger, but things that go well tend to fade in the background because they don't need monitoring or maintaining. So it's so easy to lose good memories, and it's so easy to entrench and revisit over and over the worst memories. If you aren't careful and mindful about how you process your existence, you will see a life of suffering, even if your life was pretty good, you know? I kind of feel like most people who end up in relationships at some point will know what it means to be cheated on. Unfortunately, it's incredibly common, and it's really sad. But the thing is, you don't trust people because you know that they won't hurt you. You put people in a position of trust so that you can have that sense of connection, right? And the way that you learn to be okay with being vulnerable with people is not to expect them not to hurt you, but to find people worth hurting for. And also, the way I see it is, if I ever trust someone and get in a relationship with them, I'm kind of the position now where like I'm only willing to get in a relationship with my trust issues if I know I'll be fine no matter what happens. So like if I'm financially stable and I live in my own place and I'm not going to lose my home, I'm not going to lose my money, I'm not going to lose anything. I don't have any kids to lose custody of or anything like that. So like my life is pretty good now. Worst case scenario, it goes back to this level of good. They don't look like my whole world, my whole life. I'd be nothing without you. And so I'm just not afraid of being betrayed. I can't shake the concern of being betrayed. I can't shake the trust issues. They're a part of me now. But all I can do is not try to control someone, feel safe and secure in myself. So I don't need this person to be safe and secure. Like I don't seek security in other people. I bring the security to the relationship. I'm a secure person. I've never cheated, never will cheat. I don't betray people like that, right? So I bring security and I bring my own security too. I don't look for security in others. So it's like, if I love someone, it's like, I love this person, I'm happy to exist with them, and I'll be fine if it goes to shit. Hopefully they'll be a good person too, and hopefully everything will be fine. But if not, I've survived being broken up with. I've survived horrible things. I can survive again. Not only that, but life will just go back to being as awesome as it was before. So I have nothing to lose, and perhaps a little to gain. And that perspective means that, like, I don't have to heal from my trust issues to be in a relationship. Because I feel like sometimes that's easier said than done. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying at this point in my life, I don't see myself just magically trusting people again. So this is my solution. I missed you guys. I guess I did like a little mini catch-up hour. I will see you later, and I hope you take really good care of yourself, okay? Be good, everyone.